My name is Heather. We are here today to talk about mom guilt. Do you guys mind introducing yourselves?
Jess, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Jessica. I'm a stay-at-home mom now of two little boys who will be 2 and 4 next month. And I jumped on the opportunity to help with LLC's mission on discussing this mom guilt thing because it's something that I think many people deal with in their lives, me especially. So I'm happy to help discuss it further with Sarah and Heather here.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Sarah. I am a naturopathic doctor and an IBCLC. And I also jumped on it because this is absolutely something that I deal with my clients every day. So, and I'm also a mom of two boys, so I get it as well.
It's interesting. We're all moms of two, except I have two girls. So I looked up, and what I found as more formal definition of mom guilt is internal dialogue where we tell ourselves we are failing as a parent and caregiver. And a little bit different wording was nagging feeling that you are somehow falling short, that you're not doing enough, or that your kids deserve a better parent. Do you guys align with those definitions for mom guilt?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I find it a lot too of like, I feel not quite as much as that like I'm not good enough, but maybe I'm not doing enough, or I should be doing something different.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
You guys feel
Like
that?
you feel like your best is not what you're giving, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not doing your best, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather's kind of aligned with what you're saying is like not so much that I'm not good enough, but like there's almost like that driving force behind you being like, okay, what can I be doing now to either assuage the guilt or the feelings that you have, but to for me at least with two kids, it was like, how do I make sure that I give the second kid the same experience that the first kid had? So it's that driving force to be like, okay, what activities did I have him signed up for at this age to make it equal? What
Yeah.
things can I be doing to make myself feel better in that sense, but also make sure that my kids are having an equal life experience as they grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there other that is right on my alley because I've signed up my eldest into things and then I bring my youngest and then I feel bad because my eldest didn't get to do that at the younger age. But then there's no way that you can do that.
This is all of this is an unrealistic expectation, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't possibly give your younger child the exact same experience as your older child because you now have two kids. You're a parent for two kids, right? And your older child never got the experience of having an older sibling. So like it's literally never gonna be the same. It's like not you can't it's not a realistic expectation and yet we still put it on ourselves, right?
So what does that look like for you? Like when you're like we've given an example of when it happens, but what does that look like? For me, it's like all internal. And then like you were saying, like trying to make it equal. What's another way that that looks or feels like for you? Is there other emotions that come up with that?
I think I see a lot. Oh, go ahead, Jess. Go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, no, I'd like to hear what you see with your child.
I see a lot of anxiety, I think, for people of like, how do I make choices? Like, how do I make anxiety and sometimes even like decision making paralysis of like, I'm not sure if I should go back to work. I'm not sure if I should put them in daycare. I'm not sure if I should do, X, Y, and Z things. Um, and then and and then also like after the fact like ruminating, right? And because I work with like because I'm an IBCLC, right? I work with people really young and like, oh, I should have done this better. Oh, I should have done that better. Like, oh, how come I shouldn't have started using formula in the beginning. And it's like, but you like, how can you possibly like you only know what you know in the moment? And I find people like are revisiting like, oh, I wish I'd done all these things differently.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the difference between like it turning the ruminating and living in the past and having that kind of like a depressive aspect to it versus, thinking in the future and having that anxiety aspect around it, where it's like, okay, so he's going to be 2. By that time, my first was already in soccer and swimming. Okay, so I have to sign him up for soccer and swimming, and having that like uppity anxiety feeling of like things you need to do to make yourself feel better that you're doing the best you can for both the kids, or making sure you have they have the same experience, whether it's daycare or how much time they get to spend one-on-one with you, which, you know, Dr. Sarah, you're saying it's like an unrealistic expectation because you have two now and need to manage that a bit more with yourself internally and mentally. But also that I think the kids have a different experience almost in a positive way too, because they get to spend more time with a sibling, whereas your eldest was just you and the child together. So having that expectation helps, I think, at least make you feel, okay, I know they're not going to have the same experience, but can I get as close as possible to what I
I
had
always
before?
think too, though, like with like adults, if it's just an adult and a baby, adults are kind of boring. Like we just,
100%.
and we're like, maybe we'll redo this book. I don't know. Kids, like sibling on sibling, it's so like babies are like, oh my God, and like toddlers are like that. I want to do that situation, right? It's like so much more exciting and stimulating for them. So maybe they don't get the same one-on-one time with them, but I feel like they are. It's like such a unique experience to be like the second child or the third child or whatever, and that's it's like not better or worse. It's just very different.
Yeah,
Very
that's
different.
actually, I just wrote that down, different, not better or worse. So it's funny that you actually bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is I often tell people like it depends a lot on the personality of the kids, right? Like I have two boys, but they're very different personalities. And yeah, like you say that and then you don't know it until you have two and you're like, "Oh wow, you are different little people." And so sometimes like that soccer, or that swimming was like exactly what your older one needed. And maybe your younger one actually needs to be like in a music group.
Yeah,
Or at
absolutely. I think
home more because they get more overwhelmed with stimulation. Like it's okay for it to look different for different kids and different family structures.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the same for you, but the pressure and the guilt was a lot more so in the beginning with the growing pains of having two. And as they got older, as toddlers, and they play together more, then you're like, oh, this is such a great experience for both of them to have like a little buddy. But there's those certain moments when they're younger that are like burned into your memory of like, okay, I need to be doing something different here. Case in point is my one example that's always comes to mind is, you're trying, the first one has to sit and play quietly while you're trying to get the other one down for a nap in a dark room. The sound machine's blaring, they're crying, freaking out. And you're trying to tell the first, okay, just be a little bit patient. Mommy will be there in a second. And I'm rocking my second, trying to get him to sleep, and I hear like a little knock on my door, and I go and check, and it's my eldest, and he's like, "Mommy, I'm being patient. Is it done yet?" And it's just like,
Oh,
okay, okay, give up on this nap, like wear the baby, figure it out. So you adjust and you figure it. Okay, so maybe my second doesn't need these perfect like in the crib blackout blind sound machine nap. Like I'm just gonna wear you all the time. So again, like that different experience where the first got these like beautiful, nurse to sleep in the room by themselves nap, or with contact nap for like 3-4 hours, whereas the second's just like strapped to you and going along with what the first is doing, which is, looking back now, in itself like a kind of a beautiful experience because it was different.
mm.
But in the moment you feel like, oh my goodness, like this poor child isn't getting as good a sleep or as good a rest as the first one did, and what's that going to do down the line? So that kind of spiral ruminating thoughts of like, what if, or what's going to happen.
Sleep is such a Sleep and feeding for babies are like the two I find like most stressful, guilt-ridden, like and
Rage
people
inducing. Yeah.
rage.
Like what you just described, you just described my everyday. So like my eldest is just over 3 and my youngest is just over 1. She's like 15 months. And every day when the little one starts rubbing her eyes, I'm like, hey, how do I do this? How do I put you down to sleep and leave the toddler to do what? She's not old enough to understand that we need to be quiet. She's not old enough to understand that I'm literally just downstairs. And I get the youngest one just dozing, and then I'll hear from upstairs, "Ma!" And I'm like, just just please be quiet for 2 more minutes. She's almost asleep. Or even worse, now we started potty training. So I'll be nursing the little one to sleep, and then I have to go pee. And I'm like, well, like, do I leave the little one here crying because you have to pee, or do I let you pee your, like, and then both make me feel like a terrible person. And then even before potty training, and terrible language to use because it just makes the guilt worse, I dump my littlest in the swing because then she's at least rocking and she'll fall asleep. But then I feel terrible that she's by herself. And then I take the toddler and I cuddle her to sleep. And I lay there ripping myself apart, being like, is she your favorite? Like, what are you doing? You're here cuddling this one while the other one's downstairs by herself. And then, like, what do you tell yours? Like, I don't, literally, like,
the first thing is that we were not meant to be home alone with children. That's the first thing to tell yourself, right? We were not designed to be home by ourselves with children. We were meant to parent in communities, right? Because then you wouldn't have these issues. And so it's not supposed to be as challenging, right? Because you're supposed to have people around you. And that makes it such a huge, like, then the toddler goes and plays with whoever happens to be around, right? Like, and so then if that's what we are supposed to be doing, then you can't have the expectation that you're going to be able to perform like multiple adults.
Yeah, be everybody for everybody. Yeah, everything for everybody all the time. Yeah, it's just not.
Yeah, no. And then the other thing is I always tell people, like, you just do, first of all, you have to triage, right? You have to triage who is the most important thing at the time. And if the baby is happy in the swing
and safe is really what it comes
safe in the swing, the baby's happy and safe. The baby's happy and safe. You know? And then, you know, if the baby needs to go to sleep and the toddler needs to play on their own, that's okay too. And then the other thing is, like, you just, exactly what Jessica was saying, right? Like, okay, maybe we're in the carrier. Maybe everybody's in mom and dad's bed for a nap today because everybody's tired, right? Like, maybe we're actually like sleeping on the floor in the living room or whatever, right? Like, it doesn't have to be picture perfect. It just has to be functional.
Yeah, I think that lends itself to a whole other conversation about like type A people and having their children and how that works in your mind. Of like, okay, this isn't perfect. This isn't the way that I like would love to have scheduled it to be. But again, like looking back, you can see kind of like the beauty and the chaos of it because the kids don't know. They have no idea. They think this is wonderful. You're all camped out on the living room floor and you're stuck with them. Meanwhile, you're like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't keep for my cell phone to just like doom scroll or something during this moment. But it's, again, it's like in the moment, having now a 2 and a 4-year-old, back when I was in the 3 and the 1 and younger, Heather, I totally sympathize because you're just like, I don't have enough hands. I'm home alone. How do I figure this out? And again, like kind of like what Dr. Sarah's saying is like, you kind of have to give yourself grace to be like, okay, no one can do this better than I can right now. There's literally no one else. So what I've done is the best I can do with the information and support I had in the moment. It's great. And your kids will never remember and they'll never talk about it as later on. They might say, I remember that time that we like all snuggled together in the bed, but
remember that time we all had a sleepover?
Yeah, exactly. But it's hard in the moment to think back on that. Like,
it is. And I think go ahead.
What you said, the like type A, I feel like that transition, especially from if you've been working and you're working full time, you work till the end of your pregnancy with your first, that transition from working professional to like mom of newborn where nothing is on your schedule, nothing is certain, not really sure how to do the job that you're trying to do. I feel like that is a huge struggle for people. And like first to the second also, but like that shift from like professional to parent, especially if you're a type A personality, that can be a very hard transition.
And what messages from society and family or social media do you guys feel add pressure? Yeah, I know that's a whole, like, there's not enough time. Do you find add pressure and more emotion and that kind of stuff to exactly all of these things.
My first thought when you said that, especially social media, is like all these families that you follow, especially like the stay-at-home moms who do like all this like sensory bins and like have all these activities and stuff going on. You find out later that there's a nanny or there's a grandma in the background helping out. It is like 100% social media fake. So that's kind of how I helped assuage those fears or guilt that I wasn't doing, like, why can't I do what this person's doing in a day? Um, but so that's kind of the trap I would say is like don't fall into that. There's always seems to be someone helping, especially if these people have like millions of followers. They've paid somebody to help in the background. To which goes back to what Sarah was saying about how we're not meant to do this in isolation. Like there has to be some sort of village who comes to support later on. But that's kind of what these Instagram moms or Instagram parents are saying is like, you have to be busy. You have to keep them busy. Like come up with a new activity or do this like, Play-Doh fondue masterpiece with them while one's just trying to feed them and put them to sleep. And that you should be doing everything for both is what kind of the message is like, oh, you never did that with baby A, so how come you're doing it with baby B? Like it doesn't need to be the same. And I think that's kind of a hard concept to grasp is okay, it is different. They'll both have their unique experience, but what is the same is they'll both have your love and they'll have your presence and they'll have you as their mother in their lives. So those are just kind of the key points that I always try to remember, especially when you're thinking about a different upbringing or not feeling like you haven't done enough with the time in the day that you have.
Yeah, social media. I feel like there's other like maybe like moms or like grandmas or in-laws or whatever have expectations, but it's social media that like really makes it hard for people because it's completely unrealistic. And I do find sometimes even like a little bit predatory, right? Like especially if you have someone who's like desperate, baby's not sleeping, baby's not latching, whatever. These, parents are like desperate, like they need some kind of help. And I've heard crazy things about like, oh yeah, I bought this PDF online or whatever, and or even just, someone said that if I did X, Y, and Z, like my baby would start sleeping through the night or whatever. And one of the things that I always tell people is like, if that person on that influencer or expert or actual expert, even like maybe it's a pediatrician, like I don't know who's saying what on the internet, but if that person hasn't seen your baby and done a intake with your family, like maybe what they're saying worked for their kids or some of their patients or whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. And it also doesn't mean that like if you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong. Because literally anywhere on the internet, it doesn't matter what you do, you will always find somebody who's telling you that that thing is wrong.
And it's a safety thing too, right? Like as you said, if they haven't seen your child, and maybe your child has a different disposition or condition, and you're trying what this perfectly healthy full-term baby's doing, it could be like risky for your child. So it's just like ignore it, ignore it. Walk on.
Yeah.
Even on a smaller scale, I find that like even just I live in a small town when I'm walking around and I'll be like, oh, the kids did this or that, and they'll be like, oh, my kid never did that, and then it's like, okay, but mine is, and mine does need that, or like we never did that for these kids, and it's like I don't really know what I'm supposed to be taking from this, except now I feel like a terrible parent, or now I feel like, and then it like spirals into this like guilt and not good at like exactly all of this, and family. I don't know if you guys experienced or heard other people talk about like the guilt from family.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I hear it a lot, and I see it a lot too. Like I'll have people who are like, "Oh, do you mind, like my mom's here, do you mind if she comes into the visit also?" Because I do home visits. I don't have an office. I do home visits. So I'm like in people's homes. I like see all the dynamics. And I have people who, can you explain that again to my mom? Because I've been trying to tell her, and she's not like, it's different coming from a doctor than it is coming from like their daughter, you know? I do see that. I do see like, and I always, the example I always give is like, look at car seats. Look at car seats, right? If
Don't get me
we
started about car seats. Oh my.
like
New
30 years
conversation.
ago, 30 years ago, car seats did not look the same. You know? And just because that was what was the safest option that we had then does not mean it's the safest option we had now. And I cannot fathom someone being like, don't put them in a safer car seat. That's silly, right? So we just learn more with more information. And it doesn't mean that parents or in-laws, you know, grandparents are coming from a bad place. Right? They're genuinely, usually genuinely trying to help and trying to like, you know, support as a grandparent. But that it's like a navigating, what information do they have, what information do you have, what choices are you making for your family that are maybe different, and trying to like it's tricky relationships to navigate, right? Because you want to have good relationships with your kids' grandparents, and you also want to be the parent yourself, and that's another big transition, right? Every other time in your life, like your whole life, your mom is the mom. And then all of a sudden, in like one split second, you're the mom. And so navigating that transition can be really challenging, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Heather, and how you're saying, like, you know, it makes you feel like a bad parent because they're telling you, oh, well, we never did that with A, B, and C, and look how well they turned out.
Yeah.
It's an interesting mind shift to be like, you know, they're coming from a place of love when they say these things, and you respect that as their child, but they're also coming from a place of like barely internet and like barely, you know, RCTs and like these heavily regulated studies on the child health and wellness and psychological well-being. So that's where I kind of had to shift to be like, okay, I will take your information in based on your personal experience information, but then I will do my own research and then come up with a hybrid or my own approach based on the information that's available to me. Because what they did was they used the information that was available to them at the time, and we have so much more now than what the previous generation did. So it was a mind shift for me to just like go blindly with what, you know, my elders or my people who have more experience would suggest, to going and researching my own, which, you know, adds to its own stressors and guilt, because it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have researched it on my own and learned. I should have known better. Is like that concept of known better. It's like you don't know better. You do the best you can with the information you have at the time. But learning it yourself, especially going through it the second time, I did things first time that I look back and I'm like, ooh, I would never have put the child to sleep in that, or fed them that first, because I've learned along the way. So, I mean, you know, next generation, my kids are going to look back at me and be like, you did what? Like, you put me to
I
sleep?
hope they do. I
Yeah,
hope they do.
exactly. Exactly. And I hope they have the wherewithal to be like, thank you. I've taken what you said with love, appreciate your input, but I'm going to do it this way because I know better. Like, I'm not going to put my kids strapped in with adult seatbelts on a bench seat in the back. You know, like we have more information than they did. So it's a hard thing to accept that, okay, maybe my mom's information is not what I'm going to go with at the time, because now I'm the mom and I'm making the rules, especially as the first time parent. It's very
Yeah, and having to like assert yourself in a way that still protects your relationship with your parents, right?
yes,
Like,
yes, respectfully while you're stressed
respectfully.
and have an hour of sleep under your belt.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
No
And
snapping.
then it's like having grace for yourself, having grace for your family, having grace for your parents, right? Like if you're tired and maybe say something that you didn't mean to say, going back and apologizing, right? Like all those, you know, we all make mistakes and do things that we didn't, you know, with the first that we would never do again, or whatever, whatever, whatever. And having grace for yourself and having grace for everybody else that's on this like journey of raising your children with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Jessica, I heard you there say a couple times that made me think back to the beginning when Dr. Sarah had mentioned the decision paralysis. And I find I should on myself a lot, which is what you were kind of touching on there. Like, I should do this or should have done that. really resonates with a recent situation where I had an outing that I could have gone on, but I thought like my eldest was really tired and she needed a nap. So I was like, well, I could go here, but she should have a nap, and she could have a nap, but we should go here. And then I was in this decision paralysis of like, well, can someone just I'm gonna feel bad either way because she could have fun here, but she should. And then do you guys please tell me that you experience that too?
All the time.
Yeah, you guys should on yourself.
I love that expression. I hadn't heard that until
Yeah,
you
should on yourself.
brought
Yeah.
this up.
It doesn't feel good.
Daily. I mean, yeah, daily. And if I think, like you said, if you ruminate on like all the shoulda, woulda, couldas throughout the day, you would just like decision paralyze yourself into, I'm just going to stay on this couch and not make any decisions. But at the end of the day, you know, my dad always says, because we always talk about decision paralysis in our family, is like any decision is better than no decision. So just like pick a lane, go in it for the day. Tomorrow's a new day to like decide where you're going to go. But it's also like, you know, again, giving yourself grace of like, if you're tired and you're not feeling like that outing, go back home, go take a rest, because it won't be fun for them if you're not feeling 100%, and being able to navigate that outing. But yeah, but the mom guilt around that is real. If it's like, especially if other parents and families are going and you're like, well, their kids are all having that great time or going to this party, and like I don't want mine to feel left out, like the FOMO, like as though your 2 and 4-year-old are going to have FOMO. It's more like parental FOMO. But yeah, it's daily, right? Because we're constantly being inundated with all the stimulation of like, oh, there's this carnival or family fair, or there's this you know, school activity that they could be going to, and it's definitely a hard space to navigate when you have mom guilt or anxiety.
Yeah. And it's I just because like I mostly see really new babies, like a lot, even like, oh, I should have done this in the hospital, right? Like I should have done this when I should have gotten help sooner. I should have changed the following things. I should have started pumping or whatever. And then you like people carry guilt about it for years. I hear, you know, even if I'm seeing someone with their second, they're still telling me about all the things they should have done with their first. And it's we said it, right? Like you can only do what you can with the information you have at the time. And, you know, yeah, either you're feeling up to the outing or you're not, or you're feeling up to starting pumping or you're not. And your mental health the mom, as the parent, right? Like if you're not, like, your mental health matters more to your child's well-being than pretty much anything else, like any outing, any choice of formula, any whatever, like you having your mental health is like going to be way more important. So, you know, focusing on what's manageable, what's sustainable, and like what is going to nourish the whole family.
Yeah, I think if I could go back and talk to myself when my first was born, that would be the piece of advice that I would tell myself, is that you need to take care of yourself, because you have to take care of yourself. Like on the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first. Like you need to take care of yourself, because you have to take care of these people, like the littles, they can't. So if no one's going to take care of you except you, is really what it comes down to. So that's an amazing point. I wish that I'm sure people said it to me at the time, but it just didn't click until actually quite recently. And what helps you work through the feelings when you guys have the guilts or the shoulds or the couldas?
I mean, I have a very good therapist. That's like been, and especially as like a healthcare worker, I feel like that's like essential.
Oh, absolutely. And to that point, just like talking to someone, right? Like not being alone, especially if you're stay at home and you're literally just talking jibber jabber all day. Like it's nice to have like an adult conversation about how you're feeling.
Too.
Other parents have a supportive parent group. Your partner, who you come home and you have to share the day with them, and you know it helps at least for me with my partner, to put things in perspective when I like ask him like, is it like crazy to think this, or is this like make sense? He's like, no, it's nothing. It's not a big deal. I'm like, okay, okay, fine. If you don't think it's a big deal, then I also don't think it's a big like that. That has kind of been our new routine, because you start when you're alone, you start like going over it and over it in your head and making it a bigger deal than it would be to an external third party who wasn't there in the moment. Um, but also to like, I think we talked about it quite a bit in this, but just learning to give yourself grace and think back like, okay, did I have any other information at that time when I made that decision? No. Okay, nothing else I can do. Like it happened.
Or did you have the capacity
Did
even,
you have
right?
the
Like,
capacity? Like,
yeah, like maybe you had the information, but did you even have the capacity to act on it? Like
yes, yeah.
sometimes no.
Be like, okay, I was alone. It was a safety concern. I've had 5 minutes of sleep. Okay, that I did the best I could at the moment.
Yeah.
And then learn from it. Be like, okay, next time, what would I do? Okay. And then, you know, just being, but like I say that as though that's the easiest thing in the world. It's not. Like you're still gonna ruminate on it, you're still gonna think about it. But to Dr. Sarah's point as well, like having a therapist, someone who can teach you those skills to be able to move on from those thoughts rather than let them control you and dictate your day. And just thinking like, I don't know if it was a study or if it was like an anecdotal thing, but someone said to me like the mother's happiness dictates kind of the happiness of the household, both in like the spouse's happiness as well as the children. So again, to what Heather said, like putting yourself first and making sure you're doing that self-care. You're happy yourself as a person, as a mother, and then that will just naturally, organically flow to your children and your family, because you're being able to take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself before you can take care of other people.
Mm-hmm. And that's not selfish. That's not being selfish. It's essential.
But some might have mom guilt over putting themselves first in that respect too. And I think
Yeah.
we need to change the conversation and the culture around that.
Yeah. I remember that with my first being like, I need to go for a walk and I need to go for a walk without this kid. And then being
Mhm.
on the walk and being like, oh my God, I'm such a terrible mother for being out without my kid.
It's such a hard shit. Or like go take a bath without someone like calling you or needing you. Like even just being in the house. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's like I have to work out my workout or exercises are in the house in case someone calls me or needs me. But like, to my husband, he's like, go out to like a gym so that it's like there's a degree of freedom.
You come back.
Yeah, and don't come back. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a different mind shift for sure.
it is.
With me, for probably until like last month, I had a really hard time saying to even myself or anybody else that I want or need a break from my kids. And I still like, I adore my kids. I live and breathe for my kids. So for some reason my brain twists that I need a break or time to myself as loving them less. I don't know if you guys can relate to that or have heard that, and that really spirals some guilt for me. And like I deserve time away. Everybody deserves time away, time to themselves. And I think a big thing is acknowledging that you're still an individual. Like, yes, for many moms, like mom becomes your top title, but you're still you. And I think like we've already talked about, like in society and stuff and in social media, it becomes that moms have to be everything for everyone and put everybody else first. So that's something I've found hard. And I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but there's like a level of shame and comparison in that of like putting myself first or doing something that I want to do or not going to the thing because I'm tired or don't want to, and then the kids are missing out. um is that, yeah, you validate that for me?
We're both just over here nodding, like, yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yeah, and I find not nobody, because we are, but people don't talk about it, I guess. And then I often find, and when I do talk about it, people think that they're alone in it too, or that they're terrible parents because they're feeling these things.
Yeah.
Do you guys have advice, or have you found something that works for you to talk to other people without shame and comparison in any, like, how do you guys navigate that?
I think just like defining, because you do need a break, and but also what a break looks like is different for different ages of babies, right? Maybe for a newborn, your break is 30 minutes. But then when they're 9 months old, maybe you can leave for the day and that's okay, right? It depends on your baby as well. But and then also you feel bad because like, oh, when they were littler, you only left them for 30 minutes and now, they're gone, you're gone for the whole day. And one of the things, if I'm talking to people about going back to work, because maybe they were taking breaks when they were at home, partner's coming home, partner takes the kid for whatever, 45 minutes, an hour, and mom gets break, whatever. But work is work. It's not a break, right? Like when you go back to work, there will need to be a third activity in there that's also a break because you can't just be working, parenting, working, parenting, working, parenting. That's work all the time, right? And so not feeling and like to back to what we said, right? If you're more nourished, if you're feeling better, you're going to show up better for the times that you are with your kids. And so maybe that does look like 30-minute later daycare pickup so that you can go to the gym or go for a walk or whatever. Maybe that looks like having grandparents come over or getting a babysitter that you trust. But like those things, I feel like our society makes it sound like those things are detrimental to the kids, but it's actually
Yeah.
beneficial to the kids, to have other caregivers that they trust, right? It's better for them to have a community of caregivers that they trust, and whether that's paid or family. And B, for you to show up better as a parent when you get back.
Absolutely. I think it's so important. And I would be interested if the discussion is different in terms of the guilt of the working parent who is trying to add that third act in, because it's like, well, I was at work all day, like I should be spending all the rest of my time with my children, which is like not the case, versus like stay-at-home parent. Like I love my breaks. I 1 to 3 p.m. you do not bother me. You stay in your room, the door is shut. And I hold that boundary with my children, especially my 4-year-old now, who really doesn't need a nap, but he has his quiet time where he's in his room and he's not allowed to come out. And I want him to understand that it's mommy needs a break. Mommy needs, it's her time. I have my lunch. It's like my lunch break. And same thing, like if I need to work out, like you have to, he can watch me because I think it's beneficial for them to be like, I'm doing this for myself. As you grow up, I want you to also be able to do these things for yourself and take the time. But I can do that and without feeling too bad because I'm with them all day. It's like, I spent this like, you know, 10 of my 12-hour day with you. The 2 hours that were apart is my like rejuvenating and like juicing up to like feel the second half of the day.
Yeah.
So, but again, like this is my kids are older. When I was younger, of course, I was like, okay, I don't need 2 hours. I need an hour and a half. Like, just give me like that half hour to rejuvenate. But now that they're older and they can start to like understand that, I think that's helped me feel a bit better about it because he goes, oh yeah, mommy's having her nap or her break or whatever I'm doing, and I'll go do my quiet time. So I think with age, and having someone who understands that you need a break, it makes it a lot easier. But when you're old, when they're younger, and if you're working, I can't imagine that it's like, okay, why do I need this break? Like they haven't seen me for the last 8 hours. I need to spend every second with them until they go to sleep. But that's exhausting. Like that is exactly as you said, Dr. Sarah. That's work and then work some more, and then you go to sleep. Like that's not a sustainable lifestyle, in my opinion. And I'm sure that can contribute to burnout and other feelings above and beyond mom guilt.
Yeah. And even too, like modeling, like when my kids were littler, um, if I was like, I'm overwhelmed right now in this moment, I would like put them both down and be like, Mom's gonna step over there and calm down her body. You guys are safe in this space. I'll be just over there. I'll be back. And my older one, like he's 7 now, and he'll do the same thing. He does this, I'm just gonna go over there and calm down my body.
I love that.
Perfect.
That's perfect. That is perfect modeling, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So I don't scream in your face, I'm gonna walk away and take some deep breaths, right? And like even that is like essential self-care because we can't all be like the most patient humans 100% of the time, especially with toddlers.
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting too, that, like, again, same with you, Dr. Sarah, like tell them how I'm feeling. Even if they can't understand me, I'm like, okay, mommy's just feeling like a little overwhelmed right now, or mommy just needs 2 seconds by herself to like feeling touched out. Like, I just don't want anyone to touch me. Like, just give me my body back for 2 seconds. And same thing, like my eldest the other day, he's like, can we sit on the stairs? I just want to talk about my feelings. Yes, let's talk about our feelings. And just like hearing it with a straight face, like, you feel frustrated. I understand. But like to be able to express that, it's just like, okay, this is, I think this,
Normalizing that, right?
yeah,
Because we all
normalizing it.
get
Yeah. Yeah.
emotions. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that.
So how did you get there that you're okay? Like tell me the secrets. How did you like if I 100% agree, but if I can't say to them, just don't touch me because I just get overwhelmed. So what advice can you give to me and other people like really in the trenches of haven't found how to break through that or how to get past the guilt? Like I'm hearing a lot of like great ways of like teaching empathy and all of that, but it feels like it's like I'm not quite seeing the light at the end of the tunnel to where you guys are. What advice could you give to parents that are really still deep in the trenches? Do you guys have
Man,
any?
I'm gonna say like see a good have some good practitioners. Like this is when usually in my first couple of visits with people, I'm like, okay, your goal is to exclusively breastfeed. Let's like work on the things to help you get to exclusively breastfeeding. If that's not happening by like the second or third visit, I'm like, okay, how are we going to make this sustainable and enjoyable for you? Right? Like work with people, either peers or partners or practitioners of just like, this is my whole situation. These are the places that I'm struggling. Like, how do I make it sustainable? How do I make what can I do based on all of this? And like we have a really amazing sleep consultant on our team who and she does it's the same thing, right? Like this is the situation. How can we make it sustainable? And maybe it's a professional, maybe it's just other moms. Like you have 2 kids, I have 2 kids. I'm trying to navigate nap time. Like what worked for you? And get like 2 or 3 pieces of input, and then okay, maybe that gives you like a creative solution, right? Like maybe a sleepover on the living room floor is actually like a good creative solution for everybody getting the quiet time and naps and whatever that they need. Or, it's having other input. It kind of like takes you out of it, because when you're in the trenches, you're literally just in it. All you see is like the next 20 minutes and everybody freaking out and needing to like manage everything. And so having just like external input, just letting, this is my situation, and someone who's not in it, because probably they're going to be able to help you problem solve in a way that like you don't necessarily think of in the first time, right? Or even just be like, someone even just being like, it sounds like that's actually working really well for you. Like, I don't know why you're guilty about it, right? And I'll do that for people all the time. I'm like that, because it's the number of times people are like, I'm breastfeeding my baby to sleep. And I'm like, great. And they're like, oh, okay. Just having that like external validation, like you're making this, or you're doing it, you're making it all work. I think that can be really helpful for people too.
Absolutely. And you're doing what works for you. Like what works for you is not going to be what works for Sally and Joan over in your mom group or your LLC group. But to touch on what you're saying, Heather, about like I just want my body or I don't want any to touch. I found like giving them an activity that they need to use both hands in so that I can physically step back and not have to hold one or the other, whether it's like giving them paint and they're just making a disaster that you can clean up later, or those sensory bins that you can pre-buy instead of having to take the time to make, so that you have your body back. Because a lot of the times if you're like you're reading with them or doing other activities, you're holding one kid or they're on top of your lap, and then you don't have that physical space to be able to breathe and have that. Or as Dr. Sarah says, like you guys just stay here for 2 seconds, I'm going to take a couple steps back, and you either build your puzzle or work on your train set. Now that she's 15 months and your eldest is 3, like they're going to start to be able to do those things by themselves on the two hands with their two hands, but 15 months, they still want to quite a bit. But yeah, getting like the actual like tactile activity where they need to use their hands and you can step back and have your body back for like even for like 2 minutes to have a couple deep breaths,
Yeah.
really, really helps. If you have someone like either in a friend group or you're just out and about and you're maybe sitting at like a park on the ground, they can be by themselves on the ground and you can take a step back. That's always helped. Getting outdoors. I find inside I start to go a little loopy if I'm in there with them for too long.
Any
So
change of environment, any change
anything
of
environmental.
yeah.
If they're walking, is your 15-month-old walking? Okay, that'll be
Which
your next game
throw in some
changer.
guilt because the first was walking and so-and-so's kid is walking at this age. So maybe I'm not
Oh,
like,
no.
I
They
know,
have plenty
right?
of time.
Yeah.
You have plenty of time, but that I can feel where you're at because
Yeah.
I think it was like game changer when my second started walking on their own because then you get that independence back, and your body back. So it's coming. You're so close. You're
Yeah,
so
right?
close. You're
Yeah.
so close to getting that.
You're doing
But
great.
I think one of the things that I just learned is like you're not gonna never feel guilty. Like the guilt is always going to be there. So to like give yourself a moment to either live in it, like accept it, let the thoughts come, be like, okay, I feel guilty for this, but only give yourself like a minute or two in the moment and then pack it away, either to give yourself maybe a half hour, maybe from 7 to 7:30 when they're asleep each day. That's when you unpack your thoughts and you sit with them and you examine them. But to not do it in these little micro pockets throughout the day because it becomes exhausting. So my one of my MDs actually said, she's like, some people have found like give yourself, as she said, 7:30 to 8 or 8 to 8:30 whenever your kids have gone to bed and it's just you, the time to feel those anxieties or the guilt and to unpack them a bit, versus throughout the day because you can't your mind just cannot handle all of that sensory input and that like sensory attack essentially as the day goes on, because the guilt will always be there whether you let it consume you or whether it's like this little feeling that you have. Kind of depends on you and how well you can manage it. But I think just giving yourself that grace to, okay, I woulda, shoulda, coulda in this moment, but whatever, we'll figure it out and then move on with your day. And then if you need to unpack it later, whether it's with your partner, or with yourself or with a trusted health advisor in your scheduled time to speak, really helps to kind of compartmentalize your day a bit.
Yeah, I think a little different wording, I think, was recently said to me too, is like forest for the trees. And like we're raising people, like little people in a day, in a year, in a lifetime, and focusing too much on the minute to minute, hour to hour, every little thing is just overwhelming and not functional. And that's for me very similar to what you were saying in like you can't have all of these little things coming at you, but like let them be where they are and then look at the bigger picture of like, and yeah, that's really really good advice. I actually feel really good like, after, like that's great. Like I actually have notes here of like we're not meant to be doing this alone. Different is not better or worse. The car seats analogy really stuck with me of like just because we're doing things differently, we don't necessarily want to go back and do things the way that they were done before. For my decision paralysis is going to be like any decision is better than no decision, which I never really thought of. And even like looking back at it, like I shoulda, coulda, but I didn't. And I made a decision based on what I knew and had at the time. And I think we also really worth noting here for moms really in the trenches that you guys both really touched on is like putting your oxygen mask on first and taking care of yourself and your mental health to show up better for families. Is there any last thoughts that you guys would say to help people with feelings of not enough and guilt and falling short?
I think just having this conversation shows that like you're not alone. Like
You're not alone.
everybody goes through it. Everybody works through it at their own pace and their own, with their own capacity, and that there are resources out there to help and to speak to others about it.
Yeah, and there's no shame in it. Everybody, I think a lot of people, when you don't talk about it, adds more shame. And if you do talk about it, then I think we'll find that like you said, everybody's in it. Everybody has the same thoughts, I guess. It's hard. Nobody really talks about how hard it is to be a mom or a parent or caregiver.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not alone, and there's lots of resources, and finding the people that make you feel good, right? Like if a social media follower makes you feel better as a parent, great. If they don't, delete it. You don't need that, right? Like find the people, find the mom group or support that helps you feel good.
Sweet. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys having the conversation, being honest, your tips and tricks. I appreciate it. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so
Nice to meet
much.
you all.
Yeah, thanks guys. It was a lot of fun.